What is going on, boys and girls of YouTube? Today's video is brought to you and sponsored by I Promise. They've been around for a while. This is not my first time working with them. I've literally been working with them for over a year, pretty much straight. A very small portion of time where I wasn't working with them, and I was still using the product because it's that good. If you don't know what it is an eye supplement. It's going to help you maintain and just protect the health of your eyes. You're staring at a screen, whether you're a gamer, working, looking at your phone, you're staring at a screen for a ridiculous amount of hours every day. I know I'm on a computer or on my phone pretty much all day, 12, 14 hours a day, on and off. It's not good. And I have seen a huge gain from using the product. I used to go to sleep and wake up with a headache. I wouldn't say every day. I would say 2-3 times a week. And it was what I figured was from staring at a screen, is from eye strain, which is what I Promise is going to help eliminate, is your eyes straining from staring at the screen. I don't get those headaches anymore. So I truly would love for you guys that are looking at any kind of screen all day to go check out the product. The link below will send you to I Promise's website. The product is Screen Shield Pro. Take it 2-3 months, give it the time to go to fill in, and you can even use my code for 30% off. Like you're getting 3 months of product. Commit to it. It's very easy and it will work. You guys will love the product. If you guys are already taking it, please drop a comment below. Let me know. I know there's tons of you that are using it, that are from my stream, from my YouTube. Just let me know. I want to hear from you guys. All right, boys and girls, we are going to get into this rotating video, and it's going to be a simple top 5 rules, or whatever you want to call it, rules to follow, checklist to follow, the top 5 things that you want to go down on your list and prioritize as you go into a match or go throughout a match. This is going to apply to not only junglers. Gameplay and stuff is obviously going to be focused around jungling, and jungling is going to be the priority and the main talking point of this video, because jungling is a role where you are literally always rotating. The next closest role I would say is support, where you are rotating a lot, but support rotations as well as like solo and everything is very drastically different. But priorities are going to be very similar. They aren't going to change all too much. So first 3 are going to be true rules that affect you throughout all points of the game, from the very first second you clear a camp to when the game starts, to you know, throughout the entire match till the game ends. And then the 4th and 5th rule are going to be things that are going to be way more late game or way more mid game to late game. So rule number 1 is your farming. Focusing and prioritizing farm right now, in the way the game's been played over the last few years, is by far the most important thing. You are leaving camps up for an extended period of time, you are fucking up, you are losing farm because the enemy team has already cleared those camps, and they're going to be clearing them again when they respawn faster. On top of the fact that if you are leaving farm up, it usually means you're doing something else. You're either roaming around aimlessly, not doing shit, you're looking for a bad gank, or you spent too much time in one spot waiting for something to possibly happen. If you are doing any of those things, that means the enemy team has taken your camps. The jungle has invaded your speed buff early, which is going to fuck you royally. If they've invaded the speed buff, that means they've invaded the back camps. If they've invaded the back camps, that means they've invaded your blue buff, which means you've lost the entire side of the map, which means you are so far behind that the rest of the rules slowly become much harder to really follow, and the game just becomes nearly impossible for you to play. There are ways around that. We will talk about that in a later video. So priority number 1 is farming. Make sure your camps are cleared on cooldown, especially the camps you are in charge of. As a jungler, you're really in charge of speed and blue, to be honest, and the back camps and potentially the mid camps. As an ADC, a support, you're in charge of those purple camps, and you're in charge of asking for help from the jungler if you need it. And the red buff could be done by literally any 4 of you on that side of the map. It just depends on who's doing it, and make sure you aren't 4-way splitting it, because that will not be a good thing. So priority number 1, farming. Get your farm down before you go into doing anything else. This is a rotating guide. To rotate and rotate correctly, farming has to be done properly. Now, the second thing, which people really aren't, I already know people who are confused about rotating are going to struggle with this concept. The second priority is counter ganking and counter rotating. Obviously, if you can be proactive and be the one getting these perfect ganks off, fantastic. But that's a little less common. It's way easier to farm and then pay attention to what the enemy team is doing or looking to do with your wards. You can see where they're rotating if you have aggressive wards. If you see a gank coming out, you see a jungler rotating straight to the ADC role, straight to the duo lane, or straight to the solo lane, and no camps are up, you know they're looking for a gank. That means if your buffs are down or you just know where they're going to be, you can rotate to that and look for the counter gank. If you are not the first one engaging, especially right now in the meta, it is very unlikely that someone insta kills your ADC or insta kills your support or insta kills your mid. It's usually a 2-3 second little spout. You got beads or AGSUs. You got things that keep your mid or your ADC or whoever alive. Because you have those things as a jungler, counter gank. Prioritize your rotations on the map for counter ganking after your farm's done. If you see that jungler ganking a lane, wait for them to engage, and then the second they engage after. Because that means if they went in with a Hun Bat ult and you're a Thor, you have a chance of hitting both of them with your stun. You have the opportunity to hit both people and turn the fight as long as your timing is good. That is why rotating and focusing on those two things first, your farming and your counter ganking / counter rotating, is going to be core. So that is your second rule. Focus on counter ganking and counter rotating after farming. Your third rule, your third thing to look at the checklist is going to be your own separate thing, your ganks and your rotating, your actual true. I'm rotating for this one thing. I am rotating for this gank. I am moving to this spot on this part of the map for a gank or for an objective. So that's going to be your ganks and your grouping for objectives. Really, those are going to be the two things that are going to be important in rotating your third step. You do these things based off of, are beads or actives down in a lane? So that means you can gank them. Are they playing a god without an escape? Did they use their escape? Are they just genuinely or generally out of position? Or do you have the vision of knowing where the enemy team has gone to make this gank something that is safe and smart? If you have any of those things and your farming has been done, you don't have to worry about counter ganking or counter rotating to a fight or counter rotating to an objective that the enemy team is trying to pull, then this is where you're ganking and you're focusing on, I want to kill this person. Let's see if we can get it done quickly and swiftly and then get the fuck out. So that is rule number 3. That is going to be your core rules for rotating for the first 10 to 15 minutes of most matches. And those are the things you have to look at. So there is no one path. There is no direct thing to do other than make sure you are at buffs when they spawn so they are not invaded. That is a thing that is never going to change. It is going to be very generic forever and has been forever. If you are not clearing buffs when they spawn, you are fucking up. So we're at that point. Rule number 4, checklist part number 4, is going to be rotating for sieges. We've already talked about rotating for grouping for objectives. As a jungler, you're generally going to be a little outside of the actual grouping, and you're going to be looking for side farm as well as ganking and rotating around to the back of fights. But now we have, I messed this up. I said number 4 was sieging. Number 4 is going to be your team fight positioning. That is going to be rule number 4. Team fight positioning as a jungler, most of the time you're going to want to be grouped with your 5 people, with your 4 teammates, sorry, as 5. You're going to want to be grouped as 5 looking for a team fight. As a jungler, you do not want to be the first one to engage unless you are playing a strong engage god or a hybrid initiation type god. You need to know what you're playing to make that decision. Now, in a normal team fight as an assassin character, even if you're playing a mage, just playing that assassination role, you're going to wait for your team to engage. You're going to wait for major abilities to be used. So say your get blink ults and then you see a beads on the Poseidon on the enemy team and you see him throw his whirlpool out and the hunter uses their stun or whatever they have, right? So that means the 2 carries that are in the back line or the very back, the people you're going to be diving don't have their core abilities up, which means it's time for you to go. That needs to be something you think about ahead of time. That needs to be a thought that has already crossed your mind. The second these things are down, these specific abilities are down, I am going in. As long as you are doing that, you will engage team fights perfectly all the time. Sounds weird, sounds simple, but it is that simple. Stay just outside of the team fight, just around your team, and make that decision. Have they used these abilities? Can I dive? Have they not? Do I need to help my teammates in our own backline? Those are the things you have to think about when rotating into team fights. Now, number 5 is sieging. Number 5, the last rule, is rotating into sieges. This is going to be an actual tip for sieging in general as a jungler and for rotating and grouping and being around the team fight for your general sieging. So there's 2 core strategies for sieging right now. Always go to the farthest Phoenix from the fire giant that is up. So if fire giant's up and your fucking duo lane Phoenix is still up on the enemy team, you're going to group on that side of the map as 5 and you're going to push it down and you're going to siege. Now, During this time, it's just like a fucking team fight. You're going to sit a little bit farther back. You're going to wait for those core abilities to go in. You're going to dive them. If they back up, you're going to smack on the Phoenix and try to get it. Now, the second strategy is grouping in that lane as 4, and your jungler, usually your jungler, is going to group by himself, not really be grouped. He's just going to be sitting off by himself in the mid lane, clearing the wave. You need to know your 1v1 potential against whichever god you see who is defending that mid Phoenix. You're going to be grouped in the mid Phoenix generally. You're going to need to know your 1v1 potential. Usually you should win it if you play it correctly and you don't overdive. Don't dive too deep. And you're rotating. You're looking for the rotation here. You aren't looking just for the 1v1, just for the solo Phoenix push. You're looking to, can I get an advantage here in the 1v1? If I can't, or if it's not an obvious advantage, I want to push this lane in, create some pressure in the mid lane. I want to rotate quickly to that team fight, and I want my team to engage. So that is your 5th rule to rotating. It's more of your late game rotating. Your how do I position and move around the map while sieging, and that is how you are going to be looking for either being in the mid lane, not overcommitting, then rotating into your team in the duo lane for that Phoenix, or you are going to be grouped already as 5 in that duo lane from the beginning, and you're going to push. Just don't get picked. Don't be out of position. Pay very close attention to where the enemy team is during all of these rotations, and you will find yourself being a lot more successful as someone in any role, especially in the jungle. You will see a lot more success if you prioritize these 5 things.